All right, so can the Giants shock the world, pull off the upset? Listen, this Giants franchise has pulled off way more shocking upsets than this would be. Certainly, we've seen them pull off crazier things in divisional rounds. Do they have a chance in this one? Well, let's start off with this chart here. This is going to be where they rank in Pro Football Focus grades in specific categories and where the Eagles rank in specific categories as well. If you watched my last video on this game where I previewed the other side of the ball, the Eagles offense, how they'll attack the Giants defense, you know that I had them scoring a good amount of points in this one. I think the Eagles offense should be effective, and if you have any questions why, check out that video. So the Giants might have to outscore the Eagles to win this one, which is going to be tough. I mean, you see that PFF has rated the passing attack for the Giants as 17th best in football, and the receiving core as 26th best in football, going up against the 5th best coverage unit, which is also the best pass rush unit against the 25th best pass blocking unit. Right off the bat, feels like it's going to be a tough hill to climb, but again, the Giants have found ways to score points even with certain talent deficiencies all season, so don't count them out just quite yet. Now, running game is something that the Giants, when they're doing their best, it is with Saquon Barkley having a key impact, getting teams in coverages that they can thrive in, but the Eagles' running defense is not as good as you might expect. 14th best here, and their rush EPA allowed is actually towards the bottom of the league, interestingly enough. A lot of it is they like to play a lot of two safety deep coverages. That factors in, but still, that could be advantage Giants and maybe a way they could have some success. However, you look at the box score stats, the last time they played, didn't really work out that way, unless you plan on having Tyrod Taylor be their running back. He had a couple of good rushes, but, that was in garbage time. That doesn't really factor in. Saquon, 9 carries for just 28 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. That's not going to get it done if the Giants are going to win. They're going to have to be better than that, I think. Daniel Jones was fine in this one, but he wasn't great. This was not terrible. He wasn't awful, but it was one of his, lower yards per attempt days, 169 yards on 27 attempts. Nothing really flashy there. Richie James made some nice plays. Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins had a couple of catches, but as a whole, wasn't a great day for the Giants. It just wasn't. You look at their PFF grades from that game. This is, again, the Week 15 matchup, not the one where they weren't playing their starters, obviously. Daniel Jones was their best player, and by a pretty decent margin. A 78 grade is not bad whatsoever. You have to feel like if the Giants are going to pull off this upset, it's going to have to be where we see the best of Daniel Jones. We've seen Daniel Jones play good this year. This has been a good season by Daniel Jones, but he's probably going to have to play his best football if they're going to pull this one out. Andrew Thomas, every time we make one of these videos, he's at the top of the list, as to be expected, but also every time we make one of these videos, Evan Neal seems to be at the bottom of the list. You see him with just a 35.7 grade. He had a tough day. There's no getting around it. And going over here, part of that is, look at who the Eagles have at the top of their list. Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick. You got pass rushers coming to town. You just do. You got guys who you're going to have to worry about, and that's something that they really struggled with the first time these two teams played. Like right here, finally getting into the film, you have Hassan Reddick going up against Evan Neal in a one-on-one situation. Watch how right when his play begins, Reddick, seems like he's starting to use his sort of speed rush to the outside, and he's kind of just using his, one of the things that I think Evan Neal has struggled with a little bit, and this is something that we talked about when we evaluated Evan Neal preseason, is that he might take some time to develop because he is so long. Sometimes that works against you. It gives you a high center of balance, and it can definitely be a situation where you can kind of, for Reddick, he's shorter, so therefore he's just a little bit quicker. Like watch when he cuts back to the inside, Evan Neal kind of, just wasn't quite as quick as Reddick was. Reddick's able to get there and get to the sack, and the reality is Evan Neal, listen, the guy has a lot of potential. I think there's definitely hope that in the future he could be an Andrew Thomas type where he grows into that. The Giants literally saw that happen with Thomas, but he's not there yet. And if he has a bad day, it could be costly and could have a couple of tough plays. Now, going over here, one thing I have to say is actually the passing game was okay in this one. I thought the tape was better than you might realize, at least in terms of the downfield, what's going on with the receivers and the corners and things like that. This is Isaiah Hodgins going up one-on-one against Darius Slay. I didn't mention it when I brought up the PFF grades, but, PFF said Hodgins had a good day in this one as well, and the tape said that as well. This is a guy who I feel like he's just one of those guys. Every time I watch him, I'm like, who is this guy? He's playing good football and definitely someone you have to respect, where it's a slant route against Darius Slay. And look at how when this play begins, I mean, he's getting relatively open. There's a pretty easy window for Jones to make this throw. Jones does, in fact, make a beautiful throw that allows Hodgins to make the catch and continue running and picking up a decent gain right there. And so, if Isaiah Hodgins really is this guy and he can come in through and make some plays and get some quick plays to make sure that the pressure does not get there in time, that could be very key and maybe a way the Giants could be able to move the ball effectively. Because one of the issues that happened was stuff like this, where I thought that the Giants actually got open a little bit in this one, which you wouldn't have expected, given, again, when I showed the PFF grades of the Eagles coverage and the Giants receiving game, you'd think that this would be a tough one. But I thought, again, Giants schemed very well. They don't beat themselves too often, put their players in positions to succeed. This is a good concept to beat this coverage. As you see, kind of two players are going to eventually get in sort of that gap in coverage. So for Philadelphia, you're going to have someone read it and pick it up. Like, watch as when Jones takes the snap. I mean, you do see an Eagle player is trying to read this and pick this up, but you're out of position inherently just given what the coverage was. So here, there is a window to make the throw. One slight issue. Daniel Jones is completely under pressure right now and does not have time to make this happen. So, if pressure is going to be coming this quickly, the reality is you won't have time to let sort of longer developing plays happen, just because pressure at times came instantly in this one. Jones sort of flips one out, and he did what he could to try to avoid the sack. It still did not go very well, and it ends up being a gain for catch, but not really a gain of anything. So that's an issue for the Giants and something they probably will have to try and fix. Going over here, I actually think that we talk about the running game. The Giants love their running game, right? This is a big part of what the Giants do. If they can run the ball effectively, that allows them to kind of teams will start playing more zone. They can run their zone busters. They can run their play action, stuff like that. That is definitely effective and definitely is what the Giants want to do. But the issue is you got to be able to win. I mean, that's just what you have to do, is you have to find ways to win. And if you can't do that, well, it's not going to go so well. The block you see on the screen, this is Brandon Graham, who, is having one of his best seasons, which is crazy to say given how good of a career he's had. But the Giants, they're going to have a guard pull out and try and block Brandon Graham on this play. It's Mark Glanowski, who's not a bad offensive lineman. It's not like they don't have guys who can block here. It's more so just you're going up against the Eagles. Watch as when you see Glanowski, he's actually in decent position to make this block. And this is a lot of what the Giants do. They just kind of try to trust their guys in the running game to block one-on-one. But Brandon Graham completely blows this play up. The reality is this was happening consistently enough that the Giants were just not able to get a consistent run game going. And you have to think if the Giants are going to pull off this upset, it's going to have to be with them getting a consistent running game going, not just to help them score points, but to help them limit possessions, as they are an underdog. So the lower possessions, I think, favors the worser team and would favor the Giants if they could limit possessions. So, okay, predictions time. The Eagles defense gives up a pretty good, just 1.83 points per drive on the season. That's definitely good. Giants kind of, around the mediocre area here with offense at 2.01. In week 15, they did score 2 points per drive. It was 22 points in 11 drives. Although, one thing worth noting, I did think the Giants, when their backups came in, they were able to score a little bit of points, and they were just able to do a little bit sort of in garbage time, I thought, which I don't know if they actually earned a 2.0 points per drive performance in that one, even though that's what the score ended up being. So my points per drive prediction is I'm guessing it's a little bit worse than that one, because I think the garbage time helped them out a little bit. And I just, again, 1.8 points per drive on the season, that's what the Eagles give up on the season. I think that might happen. Maybe you could talk me into, giving them an extra little bit here, but 18 points in 10 drives feels about right. You could talk me into 20 or 21 if you really wanted to, but this feels about right for what I expect the Giants to do. Meaning my final score prediction, Giants 18, Eagles 29. I do think the Eagles should win this one. I trust Philadelphia in this game. I think Philadelphia is a really good team and getting slept on a little bit because of a couple games late in the season when they didn't have their starting quarterback. That being said, I've been wrong about the Giants all season. I did not think the Giants were a very good team midway through the season, and even about 3/4 of the way through the season, I was still saying they weren't going to make the playoffs. They found a way to get here. I predicted them to lose to the Vikings. They won that game. So who's to say they couldn't prove me wrong once again? Because they've been doing it all season long. And again, this Giants team has just found ways to win. Can they do it once more? I don't think so, but I could see it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.